that's awfully kind. If my mother were here, she would be proud. It's truly a great honor for National Western and me to host the Rotary every year. This is really a special group. Special friends, special people, and you're all bound together by one guiding principle, and that is service to mankind. And I commend you, I commend your leadership, Sue, and Jim, and the Wilkins. All of you I'd love to name, but I can't do that. But huge kudos to all of you for what you do and for what Rotary does. And it's truly our honor to host you for lunch today. It's especially an honor for me to introduce the speaker, Dr. Tony Frank. This gentleman is not a household name. Many of you probably do not know him, or if you do, know him very well. He has risen through the ranks of academia, and for the last 16 years has been associated with Colorado State University. I have served on the CSU Board of Governors for the last 7 or 8 years, and so I've gotten to know a lot of these people and a lot of these leaders very well. Dr. Frank, I will tell you, is an individual on whom we on the board have had our eye, and we have watched him and observed him from a distance. And our judgment is down the line, this individual will be truly one of the outstanding leaders of one of the great higher educational institutions in Colorado. He is known and regarded as being fair, as being thoughtful, as being deliberate, but also being very, very bright. We won't hold that against him. But for the world of academia, there is nobody I can speak more highly of and with higher quality credentials than this gentleman, and he will help lead Colorado State University to be not just a great land-grant university, but one of the premier institutions in the land-grant world on this globe. That's how highly I think of this gentleman, Dr. Frank.
If Pat's mother were here, she'd be proud. If my mother was here, she would be extremely skeptical. Thanks, Pat. I'm not sure where to go after an introduction like that. It really is a very great. Do I get
You didn't know you were going to get on us, Tony.
How's that? You're okay? Yeah. You may regret the fact that you put the mics up as we go along. It is a very real pleasure for me to be here and to have a chance to talk a little bit about Colorado State University. It's especially a privilege to be here at the National Western. The National Western and CSU have shared a very special partnership virtually as long as both entities have existed. And I think that's a partnership that draws its roots from commonalities in agriculture, a commitment to education, respect for and desire to preserve and present the Western heritage that's celebrated by the National Western. So it really is my privilege to be here. I made an observation over the past couple of months. When I first started to go out and give talks as part of the university, people would simply tell me where I was going, and that was about the extent of it. I could pretty much say what I wanted. When I became a VP for research, they started to tell me what the theme of the meeting was, so I could sort of have comments that aligned with that. When I became the provost and executive vice president, I started to get talking points. As president, they now give me a script. And I believe that probably says that the farther we go in administration, the more skeptical people are that we actually have something useful to say. And I generally live up to that, as I did in this case, by leaving that script, which has a lot of wonderful things in it, in my truck. So you're going to miss the script, I'm afraid. Someone also asked me the other day if I enjoyed talking about Colorado State, if I liked what I was doing, and I have to say I absolutely love it. It's an institution that I'm proud to be a part of, and I consider it a great privilege to serve as the interim president. Someone asked me to quantify it. What was it like? What did it compare to? And I said it was. I put it on a par with getting into vet school. I would put it on a par with defending my PhD thesis, with passing my veterinary pathology boards. I wouldn't put it quite as high as tricking my wife into marrying me. That's still my greatest accomplishment. But all of those things, in a way, draw their heritage from land-grant universities. When I left our family farm, I had the privilege to study at two of America's great land-grant universities, the University of Illinois and Purdue University. And I met my wife, in fact, at the University of Illinois. She was a small animal veterinarian who helped me get through the small animal rotations. I'll share one short anecdote. In the middle of a small animal medicine exam, so I'm over halfway through vet school, and Pat's probably cringing at this point. Why would he be sharing a story like this? Halfway through vet school, on an exam, the exam question started out a 5-year-old DSH and then went on to describe the symptoms of the animal. And I went up to the instructor and I said, DSH, I don't know what that is. He said, it's domestic short hair. And I must have looked at him blankly because he said it's a breed of cat. This really rocked my world, that there were actually breeds of cats. Now, I mean, it was obvious in a way. I mean, I knew there were breeds of other animals, but it just never occurred to me that beyond tomcats, calico cats, yellow fluff's tail in the hay mower. And I went back and I did very poorly on that exam because the implications of that were still spinning in my head. If there were breeds, people must actually breed them purposefully. So my wife helped me through the small animal rotations, and in fact, her love of Colorado, her family spent a great deal of time here. Colorado really captured her heart, and when we had the opportunity to come here nearly 16 years ago, I think it was her passion for the state of Colorado that led her to say that this is where we should raise our family. And that in turn led me to what has become one of the great loves of my life, Colorado State University. When you take the reins of any organization, I think one of the first questions you ask yourself is about your mission. Are you still relevant? And so I'd like to talk for just a minute or two about the mission of Colorado State University. And it draws its heritage going back to the middle of the 19th century, to the 1850s, when a junior state senator from Illinois started talking about agricultural colleges and having agricultural colleges in each state. Now, I think this was part of what was the second great American experiment. The first, I think, is one of the greatest in the history of humankind, the experiment to see if human beings could, in fact, self-govern. But less than 100 years into that experiment, our country started a second, and that experiment was in public education. And it had important components in K-12 education, but I think what really set it apart from other educational experiments, what really made it radical, was the idea that anyone who had the capacity, the ability to earn a college degree, had that opportunity in our country, regardless of economic status. That was a part of the principle of land-grant universities. So when the state senator from Illinois had this idea, it got pushed on to a U.S. senator from Illinois. He picked that up. History is silent on how much he paid for that Senate seat. And that, hopefully that's a narrow window where I can use that joke.